I wouldn't see Jesus in the prayer in John 17 using the figurative language in John 16, but we see maybe more raw and uncut of him speaking directly to the Father and him speaking openly of the reality of what's going on, namely what Charles said. And that kind of highlights it, that since the incarnation, there is, the eternal Father, omnipresent Spirit who has always existed, but he has manifested himself in the flesh, 1 Timothy 3:16. And that man had been born 33 years prior. And now the reality is that God exists both outside of the universe, or more the mortal physical realm, and inside it at the same time. And during that earthly sojourn, we see Jesus, again, like I said, when he lifted up his eyes to start the prayer, he is located in one place. So he can be sent during this incarnational sojourn. The God manifested in the flesh is not yet, has not yet been glorified. He's not yet omnipresent. And so the sending language is completely appropriate. But I wanted to follow up, see where that leads with a reference to the Trinitarian doctrine, and that we have, as oneness, we have a bit more biblical doctrine because we see that reality that I just outlined and that Jesus prays according to in verse 3, that knowing God now is knowing the Father and the Son. There are a lot of other passages we could talk about where he says, for example, John 14:7, if you would have known me, you would have known my Father also, right? Knowing him is knowing the Father also. So we understand that reality of that God is manifested in the flesh, and he is Father and Son, one God, divine and human. But Trinitarians, on the other hand, with the maybe the reputation that they exalt God maybe to a greater level because they multiply him, as you said, Brother Jerry, I think it really, at the end of the day, diminishes him and diminishes Christ. For one, it goes off into polytheism, as I think both Brother Jerry and Brother Charles had said. But here's what it does with regards to the incarnation. We adamantly oppose the flesh suit version of pseudo version of oneness. And so, which denies any distinction between Father and Son, and the flesh means that it's just the flesh, just the body, just the skin, not a true full human. And an Apollinarian maybe caveat to that would try to maintain the full humanity, but not complete, doesn't go completely far enough to do that. However, when you look at Orthodox Trinitarian theology, and I'm going to finish with this, when they have, as Brother Charles said, a God the Son, the second person who's fully God, co-equal, co-eternal, omnipresent, who can leave heaven and then become in Christ completely, sort of as a flesh suit. That is akin to the flesh suit theology that we oppose in oneness, but it's just within the second person of the Godhead putting flesh on. But that Jesus is still the eternal person he's always been, just in a flesh suit. And the other problem with that is it does diminish the divinity of the pre-existent eternal Son. How can he go from being, if he is God, omnipresent, to no longer being omnipresent? Unless, of course, they have now there are many different Trinitarians, right, that say different things. So maybe one would say that way, one other one might say, no, there is this simultaneous existence outside the incarnation and in. And I would ask them, or you might ask them, what problem then do you have with oneness theology besides God being only one? Because there's no difference in our incarnation and yours. There is a distinction, a simultaneous distinction and synonymity. However, their problem is, in their Trinitarian view of the incarnation, is that the second person of the Godhead is really just doing a sort of a flesh suit kind of incarnation. So it's not really a true incarnation. It's a mock incarnation that's truly a theophany. And that's riddled with errors.